Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with another very cool release from Sauria Models. As you can see, we've got two different versions of their Iguanodon. Now basically it's the same figure, I guess, you know, like the same species and everything, but just posed differently, which is really cool, and I love that. I absolutely adore when people do that sort of thing because, again, it gives you really nice possibilities for dioramas and display options, and just generally, it's always fun to have more than one of each dinosaur, especially when you can then make like a male and female and stuff like that. But they look unreal here. Like, these are absolutely two of the nicest Iguanodon that I have ever seen. So without further ado, let's jump to a closer look and check them both out from there. So we'll begin with this version of the Iguanodon, and honestly I feel like this makes a very nice female. It definitely has the female look to it, in my opinion, and it definitely has the female look to it, I think, and you can see the sculpt is really nicely done. It is a little hard to get in close to this side of the head because the body curves toward us, and the tail specifically kind of is like banging into the camera as I try to get close, but there you can get a nice shot, nice side profile for the Iguanodon. You can see that the skin texture looks really nice, really fine when it comes to the scale, detail, and everything on this one. But as you lead down here along the lower jaw, you can see some larger, kind of rougher scaling. You can also see that kind of going up and over the top of the eye right there. We can see the beak is nicely sculpted as well. Obviously, this one has its mouth in a closed position. We've got the nostrils nicely sculpted as well, and you can see the detailing around the eye looks really nice. We've also got the ears back there as you lead back from the head. Moving down into the neck, we have all sorts of creases and skin wrinkles because the dinosaur has its head turned toward its left, so that's exactly what I would expect to see is, you know, a significant amount of skin wrinkling as the neck turns. And you can kind of get just an idea of like the musculature of the neck as you move down, like really nice, very fine detail on his part. Again, nice wrinkling increasing down through the underside of the throat. Moving down into the body, you can see that we start to pick up some osteoderms. We do actually have a few osteoderms up here in the neck as well, and you can see a large amount of wrinkling increasing moving down along the top and back of the neck. But as you move down into the body, a large amount of the skin texture is very fine. Honestly, when you get nice and close, it's actually almost hard to even pick up on because of the light color of my backdrop, and then of course the light color of the model currently as it's unpainted. Now my camera does not want to focus on it, but I think once we add some paint work to it, it'll become a lot more visible. As you move down into the front leg, you can see the leg looks nice and muscular overall. As you move down, you again have the really fine skin texture, which if my camera would just be kind enough to focus correctly on this, which it's apparently not going to, you can kind of get an idea of that. Moving down, you can see the sculpt down here looks great. Again, the nails are nicely sculpted. You can see, of course, that thumb, that classic Iguanodon thumb. And you can see how both limbs are kind of facing each other here, as this one's kind of picking up off of the ground as the Iguanodon appears to be kind of walking along. Moving back into the stomach, you can see some nice wrinkling increasing both behind the front leg and then, of course, in front of the rear leg. Again, just showing a little bit of movement. Nice stomach here. As you move up, you can kind of see that it's definitely a fairly healthy looking Iguanodon. Leading back, you've got a few more osteoderms. You can also see kind of like a scoot-like appearance moving over the spinal column following along. Once you come up here, I feel like you can really get a nice shot of the fine detail, that fine skin texture that the figure has. And then as we move down, you can see the muscle definition on the rear leg. Again, it's not overly defined, which is something that I really love about his models. They never appear shrink-wrapped or anything to me. Leading down, you've got the calf muscle. Again, a really nice rear foot sculpt. The nails, again, sculpted nicely. Toes sculpted nicely. This one's definitely going to be a fun one to paint. And then as we lead out into the tail, you can see a few more slight creases. Of course, the tail's curved now toward us, so again, I would expect to see that kind of thing going on. Very nice, elegant curve to the tail as you lead out to a nice tip. If you take a look at the dinosaur from the opposing side, you can now really appreciate how gorgeous that head sculpt is, I think. Definitely really nicely done. As you move back, you can now see how the skin is kind of stretching more so than wrinkling on this side, because again of the positioning of the dinosaur as it's turning away from us. Leading down, you can see the same thing for this side of the iguanodon as far as the muscular limbs and everything moving along. You can kind of make out the shoulder blade, but again, it's not overly defined, which is a good thing. You've got the hand right there, which also looks really quite nice. Leading back, you can now see how the skin is stretching off of the stomach because the leg is sort of trailing as the dinosaur is walking along. You can again see a little bit of girth in the stomach right there. You've got the hip bone up here, and again the muscle definition moving down along the rear leg. But like I said previously, again very nicely defined, but not too defined. You've got the rear foot sculpt as well, and then you lead back up again out into the tail. I'm really excited to get these painted up just to kind of show off how good the detail actually looks. Now we've also got this version, which this version pretty much is the same as the other one, except again obviously repositioned, which you can now see the mouth is in an open position. You've got the tongue sculpted out in there, which looks really good. If my camera would stay focused on it, you can see the teeth and everything. And the inside of the mouth is a little dark because it actually goes back pretty far. It actually has like a genuine look to it, like a real look, which is definitely a good thing. You can see that we have the same sort of skin texture and everything, of course, because again, we've got like the fine texturing through the face, but you've got like some wrinkling in the eye socket, some larger scales down here running along the lower part of the jaw, and then again, you've got more up here again above the eye. Moving back, you can see the ear, and again all sorts of wrinkling and creasing, especially on this one because the head is moving down and turning toward the dinosaur's right. Looks actually like it's very upset about something, or maybe it's just kind of leaning down to take a bite. I'm not entirely sure. But as you move back into the body, you do see the same sort of thing as far as the texturing goes. Again, really fine skin texture mixing with some nice osteoderms popping up here and there as you move through the course of the model. You've also got the scutes moving over the spinal column. Leading down, you can see both legs again on this side are kind of spread further apart, but this one doesn't really look like it's walking, which might be another kind of clue as to the fact that maybe it's just stopped to take a bite to eat. Because as you can see, both of the front limbs and rear limbs are all kind of planted, so it's not currently in the process of moving. And you can see the little bit of girth again in the stomach, the musculature and everything as you move back. And the tail, as you lead out on this one, isn't really curved that much. It does have a slight curve, but it seems more of like a comfortable curve. Like it's just kind of standing there sort of relaxing. So I guess a relaxing curve, you could say. The underside as well, again, sports some nice detailing. It's just, again, with the color on the model being so light and the texturing being so fine, it just kind of blends away the detail here with the light hitting it and the light backdrop. Just harder to pick up on right now, but once we get it painted, I think you'll see it a lot nicer. And then again, you can see the head sculpt from this side, all the wrinkling and creasing in the neck, and of course the skin of the neck moving along. And of course, you can see the positioning of the legs just a little bit different on this side compared to what we see on the other side, closer together over here. But overall, it is definitely a gorgeous iguanodon. Both of them are, and I cannot wait to get these painted up. So, of course, we're at that point right now. Let me go ahead and get them painted, and we'll come right back and check them out. So here are my finished iguanodon, and as you can see, they look pretty darn cool. I chose to take a color scheme that was very similar to what you see on the Walking with Dinosaurs iguanodon. That was basically my inspiration, but I didn't want to absolutely take that color scheme. I wanted to take it, but kind of make it my own, while still having like the basic look of those dinosaurs. So this is basically what I came up with. Obviously, the Walking with Dinosaurs versions have smaller, kind of sharper striping along the back and stuff. I chose to make mine look a little bit different. I also added some yellows and stuff and sort of switched up the patterning of the figures just a little bit compared to the way you see them on the actual Walking with Dinosaurs versions, but I'm really happy with them. I think they look absolutely awesome once you add some paintwork to them. Very clearly, Sauria Models has done an excellent job on these iguanodon, and they may be the best iguanodon on the market that I can think of off the top of my head. And then of course we've also got the other version that has its mouth open, which you can see again looks insanely beautiful. Again, they give you two different versions as far as these iguanodon go. I would definitely recommend grabbing the two of them because they look crazy cool once you have both together. and again, definitely a very nice pair of Iguanodon. But as you can see, the colors again look really cool on this one, just like they did on the first one. I tried to, do my best to make them look as realistic as possible, which I always do. I almost always, unless there's like a reason I'm kind of straying from that mindset, I always try to give them colors and paint applications that look as realistic and as legitimate as possible. And I feel like this could have been potentially the colors. Like, I was always such a big fan of this coloration on the Iguanodons in Walking with Dinosaurs. So I'm really happy, again, with the way both of these turned out. And most of that, of course, would be due to just how good the sculpts of these figures are. And as you can see when you get nice and close, you can really appreciate, I think, how good the actual fine detail looks on these figures now that they are painted up and everything. You can see again just how incredible the sculpts here from Sauria Models are. So definitely really happy with the final product. And of course, I'd love to hear your thoughts, whether you think the paint schemes suit the models or not, but I'm really happy with it. And there are both of our Iguanodons standing proud together again, now fully painted. You can get a really good look and feel for the figures once they're together and just kind of take it all in, and again show you how neat they look once you have both. Like, I definitely recommend grabbing both of these Iguanodon if you can, because it's just insanely cool to have an actual pair of Iguanodon like this. As far as a size goes, I believe these guys are 1/35th scale, if I remember correctly. For a length on this one, you are looking at about 7¼ inches, or right around 18½ centimeters. Of course, the tail's curved toward us, the body's curved toward us, so if it were stretched out a little bit more, it would be a bit longer. But as far as a height goes, you're looking at just a hair over 3¼ inches, or a hair under about 8½ centimeters. And then if we bring in our other Iguanodon here, we just set this one right here for a second. This one has a little bit more of an outstretched look to it, but the head is kind of tilted in a downward position. This one's about 9½ inches, or 24 centimeters, maybe a hair over that. And the highest point would probably be the back, maybe in the hip region. You're looking at just a little bit over 2¾ inches, approaching 3 inches, but not quite there, or a little bit over 7 centimeters, heading towards 7½, but not quite. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collect A Human Being next to our Iguanodons, and you can see that they are very nicely sized. Again, by no means are they gigantic, but they are definitely not small either. So very nice, very convenient sizes for these figures, because they are, large enough that they're very impressive looking, but they're still nicely sized enough that you can basically display them anywhere. And for a few random comparisons, we have a Mattel Velociraptor and Dilophosaurus standing here next to the Iguanodon. We've also got the Schleich Diabloceratops and Collect A Deluxe Dimetrodon next to the Iguanodon. And when it comes to Iguanodon, there really aren't all that many models out there for it, which is really strange. You would definitely expect there to be a lot more because, it's been around for a very long time. It's definitely one of the most iconic dinosaurs of all time, if you ask me. But here is the old Carnegie Collection version of the Iguanodon. As you can see, this one as well was repainted to have the Walking with Dinosaurs look to it, but obviously this one was actually painted to have that exact color scheme, whereas I sort of modified mine to make it more of my own individual look. But again, they look very cool next to each other, considering their very different styles and eras for the Iguanodon. But as you can also see, they're kind of similar in size, with the Carnegie Collection version being only a little bit bigger. And when it comes to potentially the most iconic Iguanodon figure of all time, we have the Invicta version next to the Sauria Models version, and very clearly they're also similar in size, with the Invicta version being only a little bit smaller. Here we've got a comparison with the Era Terra version of the Iguanodon, which you can see that version is just a little bit bigger. But if we actually bring in some other Sauria Models figures, we've got the massive and quite intimidating Carcharodontosaurus heading in here for a bite to eat on these poor Iguanodon, as well as the Ichthyovenator, which obviously is a whole lot larger because it is a totally different scale. This is 1/20th scale as opposed to 1/35th scale. And then the only other model that I have currently that I've reviewed here on the channel is the Kronosaurus from Sauria Models as well, which you can see again is just a bit larger than our Iguanodon. So these Sauria Models Iguanodon, this pair of Iguanodon, are absolutely drop dead gorgeous. Two of the best Iguanodon on the market anywhere, no doubt about that. They are extremely appealing in every way. You know, the sculpt is very nice, very highly detailed, very nice, very fine skin texture on the models as well. It's actually crazy impressive when you get nice and close and really examine how good the skin texture looks. Just how, again, much detail is included in these. He has done an absolutely fantastic job on the sculpt as far as the fine detail goes of both, but also on the overall, you know, appearance and presentation of these figures. Like the poses of both are really well done. One kind of leaning in for a bite to eat or taking a drink or something. The other one just kind of, you know, making a left turn. Maybe it's kind of turning around to head the other way that the first Iguanodon is maybe getting a drink or a bite to eat. Maybe it's heading on over there. I don't know, but it looks really cool. And again, two very nice naturalistic poses. The color schemes, of course, were done by me. You could have yours either painted up by yourself however you would like, or actually painted up by Sauria Models, because they do offer that. You know, you can actually order their models unpainted, or you can order them painted. That's really up to you. So I highly recommend either of those two directions, because my Ichthyovenator, which you just saw a few moments ago, was actually painted by Sauria Models. Now these two, of course, were painted by me. But I'm very happy with the final product here as far as my coloration and everything I've added to it. I think they both look really, really fun, and I'm definitely happy with the way that the actual coloration turned out on the models themselves. So, of course, in the comment section, let me know what you guys think of these guys. Are you going to head on over there, place an order for this or some of the other stuff that Sauria Models has to offer, all of which is amazing? And, of course, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.